welcome back to Biology Lectures with Akirele Oladimiji Philip. We're continuing our series on organization. So there's a new section which is the cardiovascular and respiratory system. So when you say cardiovascular, it talks about the heart interacting with the vessels, and the respiratory, of course, the lungs, the system that helps humans to respire efficiently. All right. So basically, this is the flow chart. We'll be looking at the lungs, the heart, and the blood vessels. All right. Then, so the first one, like you saw there, is we started with the lungs. The lungs, which is we have two lungs, or we can say we have a pair of lungs, and the lungs occupy the thorax region. The thorax means the chest region, basically. And you need to remember the fact that this is the left lungs, this is the right lungs. And you notice that the left lung is a bit this way. That's because the heart occupies the space in between the lungs. That place is called mediastinum. Well, if you're not an A-level student, you might not necessarily, or you may just remember that for knowledge sake, really. So that place is called mediastinum. So this space is where the heart is, basically. And because the heart is more to the left, that's why the left lung is a bit tilted. There's a name for that. We call that cardiac notch. All right. I'm only mentioning that for the sake of advanced students, really. Or you may just know that for knowledge sake. So let's move on. All right. So the point is all living organisms are required to respire, including humans. And respiration should not be mistaken for what? So it's not possible without gaseous exchange. Now, let me explain real quick, please. Respiration is not really defined as breathing in and breathing out. No, it's a part of it, really. Now, let me explain this to you. If you've seen my video on characteristics of living things, please, respiration really means making of energy. I know you've seen the common definition is breathing in and breathing out. Yeah, that's because for humans and some other organisms, they need to breathe in and breathe out for them to respire. What do I mean? When they breathe in, the oxygen they breathe in goes in to combine with glucose. Oxygen combines with glucose to form what? Energy. All right? Then while the energy is being formed, carbon dioxide is given out, is produced as a waste product. So the same system will help to remove that. So the reason why we call this respiratory system is because we need this nose, trachea, lungs to get in oxygen, which will combine with glucose in our cells to give us energy. All right. Then, while making the energy, CO2, which is a toxic, harmful substance, is formed, and the same system helps to bring it out. So the real thing is that we need gas exchange. So that oxygen going in, exchanging for carbon dioxide in the lungs is called gaseous exchange. I will explain that anyways. So gas exchange is the process by which oxygen and carbon dioxide moves between the bloodstream and the lungs. For the oxygen and carbon dioxide to go in and out from the body, the lungs becomes a very important organ. That's why I just explained to you right now, telling you that we need this system to bring in oxygen, which is going to bring about respiration, which is the real making of energy. Then the CO2 formed from making the energy is going to be released from our body or removed from our body through the respiratory system or the lungs. So as it is here, this is the respiratory system. So we have the nasal cavity, the pharynx, the larynx, the bronchi, which is plural of bronchos, trachea, then bronchioles, and the lungs. So let me say something right here. In case you are asked to mention the sequence in which air flows into, or there is oxygen goes in, it's going to be nasal cavity number 1, the pharynx number 2, the larynx number 3. So this is throat, and that word for this is the throat. All right, and that word for this is the voice box, actually. So this is the voice box. All right, then from there it goes to the trachea, that's number 4. Then from the trachea it goes to the bronchioles, to bronchi, that's number 5. This is bronchos, singular, bronchos. You notice this is pointing at 2 of them, that's why I call bronchi, 2 of them, right and left. Then the next thing it goes to is the bronchioles, that's number 6. Then something is not shown here, that is the alveolus, singular. When this bronchiole goes down and broken down into smaller ones, it goes to form this structure called alveolus. That's singular, or alveoli. That's plural. Either way, this is the sequence. So it's going to be the 7th one. So in case you are asked, this is the actual site. You're going to see that in the course of this lecture, the actual site of gas exchange here. This is where gas exchange takes place. Gas exchange takes place in the alveolus, or alveoli, as the case may be. All right? So don't forget the sequence. You breathe in through the nose. Please, the mouth is not meant for breathing in. We only breathe in through the mouth when we have nasal congestion. So sometimes students tend to get confused, like, okay, uncle, which one should be the first one? Is it the nose or the mouth? No, it's not the mouth. The mouth is never used, really. It's not meant to be used for breathing. All right? You might take a picture of this, or you might just write this down. All right, so let's move on. So this is a common mechanism of breathing. When someone breathes in, you can see the thorax gets bigger. This whole structure is called the thorax. This is the thorax. So this is the ribs. This is the sternum. This is the diaphragm, of course. Then that's the lungs in between that, so to say. All right. So at this point, I would advise you to pause the video. I will do a little explanation anyways, but you should pause the video and get some things jotted down here. So these are the different structures that we need for gas exchange or ventilation or breathing. Now let's explain this real quick. I've explained that, okay, this is the trachea. Of course, it's a cartilaginous tube. What does it have? It has cartilage. What does that do? It prevents the cartilage keeps the passageway open so it doesn't collapse. If it were to be made up of very tiny or like flexible muscle, it could just collapse and the person will choke. But it's made up of cartilage, which makes it open at all time. Then the bronchus is also made up of cartilages and some smooth muscles. Then we have the bronchioles, then the alveolus. You can just see their function and their structure here. Then we have the diaphragm, which I just showed you not quite long. Now there's something I want to explain here. Of course, when you breathe in, the diaphragm goes down like that. When you breathe out, it goes up. I will explain to you in details as we move on. Now, there's something called intercostal muscles. Inter means between, costal means ribs. So it means the muscles between the ribs. We have the external one and we have the internal one. So let me show you real quick. Let me explain that. Yeah, I'm still going to show you that when we get to ventilation, like a big time. So this is the rib, this is the rib, this is the rib. So the muscle in between these are called intercostal muscles. Some of the muscles are outside. Those are called external. There's some inside. You have to, for you to see that, you have to like go inside to see it inside. So like there's some outside like this, there's some inside like this. So the one outside are called external, the one inside are called internal. The way they work is a bit different depending on whether you're breathing in or you're breathing out, so to say. All right, so basically, these are the basic components that helps us to breathe in and out. You might want to pause the video here. There are a lot of stuff to really write down here, so to say. Then it says the adaptation of the lungs for gas exchange. What does that mean? What does the lungs have that makes the two of them easy to do what they do? All gas exchange surfaces have some features. Number one, large surface area to allow faster diffusion of gas across the surface. Now hear this. This is referring to the alveoli in the lungs. Because the actual thing within which gas exchange takes place is the alveoli. So these are a bunch of alveoli. You can see that on the screen right now. You can see that alveoli there. This is the alveoli. Each of these guys is the alveoli. Each of this is the alveoli, like that. We're surrounded with blood vessels, but we'll get to that shortly. Then you can see the whole thing getting bigger and smaller. Inhalation, exhalation. Inhalation, exhalation. So what you're seeing are alveoli surrounded with blood vessels. This is a blood vessel that brings blood to it and equally takes blood away. So let me show you something. Let's go back and explain some further things there. So it must have a large surface area. So it means that it is that thing you're looking at is actually, if you add it together, each of them is going to make it very wide, so to say. Like it's very wide. Like it. Let me get that right. When I say large surface area, it's in contact. All of the alveoli, yes, is in direct contact with the gas. The whole surface of the alveoli is in direct contact with the gas. So to say that's what it means, large surface area in contact. Then it says here, thin walls to ensure diffusion distance remains short. So the point is that alveoli you're seeing right now, these ones you're seeing, have short, the thickness of each of them is very, very small. So oxygen can diffuse into the blood, and carbon dioxide can diffuse from the blood into the alveolus. I'm going to show you that in details, all right? Then the next thing is, of course, good ventilation with air so that gas diffusion gradient can be maintained. So that means oxygen is usually going to be more inside the alveolus. Let me draw one for you here. What do we mean? There's oxygen, more oxygen here. Then is the blood vessel around it, of course. So there's more. What's called ventilation means there's some sort of air available. So it says a good blood supply, dense capillary to maintain high concentration gradient, so the diffusion can occur. Here, this. So we have more carbon dioxide here, and you have little oxygen here. So let's say, for example, let's say you have 20 oxygen here, for example, and you have 100 carbon dioxide here. And you have 100 oxygen here, we have 20 carbon dioxide here. So because there's more carbon dioxide here, it moves here, diffusion. If you see my video on cells saying diffusion is the movement of what? From high concentration to low concentration, there's more carbon dioxide here, so it moves here. And there's more oxygen here, it moves into the blood. It's that simple. So there's always higher carbon dioxide in the blood, in the lungs. That's why it moves into the alveolus, and there's always more oxygen in the alveolus than it is in the blood, so it moves into the blood. I hope that made sense. So it says, remember that gas exchange occurs by process of diffusion. Breathing is essential in maintaining high concentration gradients between the air in the alveoli and the gases dissolved in the blood, like I just told you. So more oxygen in the alveoli, less oxygen in the blood, more carbon dioxide in the alveoli, in the blood, then less carbon dioxide in the alveoli. All right. In particular, breathing keeps the oxygen level in the alveoli high and carbon dioxide low. I already explained that, just not quite long. So this is what I explained to you when you breathe in and when you breathe out. So this exactly, I love this. This is the alveolus, just single one. It has been cut out. This is a blood vessel around the alveoli. So you can see the carbon dioxide moving into the alveolus, singular here, then oxygen moving into the blood. Why? Because there's more oxygen here and there's more carbon dioxide here. It's that simple. All right.